Hi, I'm Eleanor. I'm 39, a nurse by day and a full-time mom to two incredible, but absolutely exhausting minus 8-year-old twins, Alex and Sarah. Life's been a chaotic whirlwind lately, and honestly, I'm barely holding it together. It all started 2 weeks ago when my husband, Andrew, God rest his soul, was killed in a car accident. We had our issues, sure, but he was a good man and an even better father. The kids are taking it hard, and I'm just trying to keep everything from falling apart. Mommy, when's Daddy coming home? Sarah asked the other day, her big blue eyes shimmering with unshed tears. My heart cracked into pieces right then and there. I knelt down and held her hands tightly. Baby, remember. We talked about this. Daddy's gone to heaven. He can't come home, but he's always watching over us. She sniffled, nodding reluctantly, while Alex, always trying to play the tough guy, stomped off to his room. He didn't say a word, but I know he's hurting. He's just like his dad, bottling everything up and pretending he's okay. As if dealing with that loss wasn't enough, my mother, Vivian, has been breathing down my neck. She's 65, but the way she nitpicks and judges makes her seem a century older. Yesterday she barged into the house, unannounced, as usual, and immediately started her critique. Eleanor, dear, don't you think the children's hair is getting a bit unruly? They look like little ragamuffins. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. Mom, they like their hair long. It's not hurting anyone. She sniffed dramatically, muttering something about proper appearance before zeroing in on the laundry pile I hadn't gotten to yet. If it weren't for my best friend Zoe, I think I'd have lost my mind by now. Last night, she called me just as I was reaching my breaking point. How are you holding up, babe? She asked. And just like that, the dam broke. I sobbed into the phone, pouring everything out. Zoe, I can't do this. The kids are a mess, the bills are piling up, and Mom is driving me insane. Listen to me, she said firmly, her voice like a lifeline. You're the strongest person I know. You've got this, and I'm here for you, no matter what. I don't know what I did to deserve a friend like Zoe, but I'm grateful for her every single day. Last night, exhaustion got the better of me. I was helping Alex with his math homework when I dozed off right there at the table. Mom, you okay? He asked, nudging me awake. I forced a smile. Yeah, baby, just a little tired. Now, where were we? Oh, right. Fractions. Moments like that make me question if I'm cut out for this single mom life. But then I look at my kids, my beautiful, resilient babies, and I know I'd move heaven and earth for them. Today is Andrew's wake. I'm ironing the kids' clothes, trying to muster the strength to face what's ahead. I can already hear Vivian's voice in my head, criticizing everything from the flower arrangements to my choice of dress. At the funeral home, the weight of the day felt suffocating. Alex and Sarah clung to my legs, their quiet presence grounding me. That's when Vivian cornered me, her face a mask of false concern. Eleanor, dear, we need to talk about the children, she began, her voice low, appointed. I felt a knot twist in my stomach. What about them, Mom? She leaned in closer, her words like a punch to the gut. Perhaps it's time to consider adoption. It would be best for everyone. You're clearly overwhelmed, dear. I stared at her stunned. Are you out of your mind? They just lost their father, and you're suggesting I give them up. Now, she said, raising a hand as if to calm me. Don't get hysterical. I'm just thinking of what's best for everyone. I was shaking with anger, torn between screaming and not wanting to make a scene at my husband's wake. Mom, I appreciate your concern, but the kids are staying with me. End of discussion. She walked away, leaving me fuming. Memories of her past advice resurfaced, like when Sarah was born with a slight heart murmur and Vivian suggested we return her to the hospital, or when Alex struggled with reading, and she implied he wasn't cut out for academics. He was 6, for Christ's sake. Lost in my thoughts, I didn't notice Andrew's brother, Derek, until he was standing right next to me. Hey Al, he said softly, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I tried to smile, but it felt hollow. Yeah, just. Everything's a lot right now. His eyes flicked toward Vivian. I couldn't help but overhear. Is she serious about the adoption thing? One voice murmured. God, I hope not, but with her, you never know. Derek must have caught my expression because he squeezed my shoulder. Listen, if you need anything at all, you call me, okay? Andrew would want us to stick together. I nodded, grateful for his support. As soon as I could, I slipped away to call Zoe. Z, you're not going to believe this, I said, my voice trembling with anger and disbelief. I told her everything. Oh, hell no, she snapped. Tell me you shut that nonsense down. Of course I did, I said, but my voice wavered. But what if she tries something? You know how she is. Listen to me, Elle. It's time to cut ties. I know she's your mom, but this is beyond toxic. You and those kids deserve better. Her words hit home, but the idea of cutting off my own mother felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I'll think about it. Thanks for listening, Z. As I hung up, I noticed a small group of people nearby, whispering and casting furtive glances my way. Pretending to adjust a flower arrangement, I moved closer. Can you believe it? Giving up her own children? I always thought she was a bit unstable. Poor Andrew, may he rest in peace. He must be rolling in his grave. My blood ran cold. Vivian had been busy, all right, busy spreading her twisted adoption scheme to anyone who'd listen. I locked eyes with her across the room. She gave me a small, smug smile, and in that moment I realized this wasn't just meddling. This was war. The days following Andrew's wake were a blur of whispers and judgmental stares. At work, conversations died the moment I entered the break room. Even Mrs. Johnson, my favorite patient, seemed hesitant. Honey, is everything all right with those beautiful grandbabies of yours? I froze. They're fine. Why do you ask? Of no reason, she said, clearly lying. Just remember, there's no shame in asking for help if you need it. It wasn't until I overheard two coworkers in the supply closet that the penny dropped. Can you believe Eleanor's giving up her kids? And so soon after Andrew's death? I know, right? Always thought she was a little off. Guess she just couldn't hack it as a single mom. I clenched my fists, fury burning in my veins. This was Vivian's doing, and I had to find out how far her lies had spread. By asking subtle questions and piecing together the gossip, I uncovered the horrifying truth. Vivian had been painting me as an unfit mother to anyone who'd listen, from church ladies to the corner store clerk. She was systematically sabotaging me. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Derek called. Elle, we need to talk. It's about Vivian. We met at a diner, and what he told me made my stomach churn. She tried to convince Andrew to leave you years ago, he said, his tone grave. Said you weren't good enough for him, that you were dragging him down. I felt like I'd been sucker punched. What? When? Right after the twins were born. Andrew shut her down hard, told her to stay out of your marriage. I thought you knew. I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. He never said a word. That's because he loved you, Elle. He wouldn't let anyone, not even Vivian, come between you. That night, I couldn't sleep. Memories of Vivian's constant undermining and criticism replayed in my mind like a broken record. I had to know the full extent of her betrayal. Acting on instinct, I drove to her house while she was at her book club. Using the spare key I knew she kept under a planter, I let myself in and began searching. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for until I found it. A leather-bound journal tucked away in her desk drawer. My hands shook as I flipped through the pages. It was all there, years of plotting, plans to gain custody of the twins, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. She'd been scheming since they were born. I was still reading when the front door creaked open. Eleanor. Vivian's voice was sharp as a blade. What are you doing here? I stood clutching the journal to my chest. How could you, Mom? Your own daughter? Her expression hardened. You shouldn't be snooping through other people's things. And you shouldn't be trying to steal my children. I shot back, my voice trembling with fury. She scoffed. Please, I'm trying to save them from you. You were never good enough for Andrew, and you're certainly not fit to raise those kids alone. That's not your decision to make. Oh, but it is, she said, her tone icy. I've already contacted Child Protective Services. With Andrew gone, it'll be easy to prove you're unfit. My friends at the agency will make sure of it. The blood drained from my face. You wouldn't dare. Her smile was cold and triumphant. Watch me. Those children deserve better than you, Eleanor, and I'm going to make sure they get it. Staring into her eyes, I realized this wasn't just meddling. This was her endgame, the culmination of years of control and resentment. But I wasn't going down without a fight. We'll see about that, Mother, I said, my voice steely. We'll see about that. Knowing time was against me, I called Zoe and Derek for an emergency meeting. We need to expose her. Zoe snapped her fingers. I've got it. We'll set up a fake charity event for struggling single parents. Vivian won't be able to resist showing up to gloat. Derek nodded. And we'll make sure to catch her on camera. If we play our cards right, she'll spill everything. The next week was a whirlwind of planning. Zoe called in favors, Derek handled the tech, and I reached out to everyone I knew, co-workers, the twins' teachers, neighbors. The response was overwhelming, and by the night of the event, I was a bundle of nerves. Vivian arrived right on time, looking smug as ever. Well, well, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. I see you finally come to your senses about needing help. I forced a smile. You were right, Mom. I can't do this alone. As we mingled, I introduced her to Sarah, a sympathetic social worker who was actually Zoe's cousin, equipped with a hidden camera. Mrs. Thompson, I've heard so much about you, Sarah said warmly. Elle says you've been incredibly supportive. Vivian preened. Well, someone has to look out for those poor children. Eleanor means well, but she's just not cut out for single parenthood. Oh, how so? Sarah prompted, her voice tinged with curiosity. And just like that, Vivian began to spill every nasty thought and sinister scheme. I've been planning this for years. Those children deserve better than her. Once Child Protective Services steps in, I'll get custody. It's for the best, really. I watched, heart pounding, as Vivian dug herself deeper. She was so wrapped up in her gloating, she didn't notice the room falling silent or the curious stares turning into cold glares. And the best part, she continued, Eleanor has no idea. She actually thinks. Suddenly, Vivian turned, perhaps to gloat directly to my face. But she misjudged the step. She went down hard, her hip striking the edge of a table with a sickening crack. The room erupted into chaos as paramedics rushed in. I couldn't help the twisted sense of justice that bloomed in my chest. The days that followed were a whirlwind. The video of Vivian's confession spread through the community like wildfire. Her carefully crafted image as a doting grandmother crumbled overnight. I visited her in the hospital, not out of concern, but to confront her one final time. How could you do this to me? Vivian rasped, her voice weak but filled with venom. Your own mother. I laughed, bitter and cold. Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. You can't leave me like this, she pleaded, her eyes brimming with desperation. The doctor says I can't live alone anymore. You have to help me. I leaned in close, my voice low and firm. No, Vivian, I don't. You made your bed. Now lie in it. As I turned to leave, she called after me, her tone desperate. Where am I supposed to go? I paused at the door, a smile playing on my lips. I hear Sunny Pines Nursing Home has an opening. It's not much, but then again, neither are you. The weeks that followed felt like breaking through the surface after years of drowning. Without Vivian's toxic influence, Alex and Sarah began to flourish. Derek became a constant presence, the uncle they'd always needed. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table, me, the kids, Zoe, and Derek, Sarah looked up at me with her big blue eyes. Mom, are you happy now? I smiled, realizing that for the first time in years I truly was. Yeah, baby, I'm happy. As for Vivian, last I heard, she was settling into life at Sunny Pines, bitter and alone. Looking around the table at the faces of those I loved, I realized that sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the one you're born into. And me? I chose right. Your turn. If you were in Eleanor's shoes, would you have cut ties with Vivian sooner? Or would you have tried to salvage the relationship for the sake of family? How far is too far when it comes to toxic family members? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.